Merry Christmas, young Zoomers. You guys have been waiting for this video for quite some time now, so let's jump right into it. You guys don't want to work anymore, and given how awful the economy and job market are, I don't blame you for this one bit. In fact, I completely support you. But how do you feed yourself, pay rent, and live if you don't work? I've been doing this for over 15 years now, and I'm about to show you everything I learned along the way. Surviving and even thriving without a job can be done in a simple, 5-step process that literally anyone can do. By the way, no, I'm not talking about getting rich with crypto or all these ridiculous get-rich-quick schemes out there these days. Everything I'm about to show you has to do with decreasing your dependency on money, not about making money. So rest assured, by the end of the video, you'll easily be able to do it too. Step 1. Eating well and healthy for under $100 a month. Oatmeal, peanut butter, and bananas. There, I just told you the first secret to escaping the 9-to-5. Allow me to explain. The first thing you have to figure out when you quit your soulless 9-to-5 is how you're going to feed yourself. Believe it or not, this can be done quite easily for $150 or even $0 per month. When I was traveling, I came across a rough patch where I was down to my last $1,000 in a foreign country, and I had to figure out how to stretch this money as long as humanly possible. It was at this time when I heard a story about how Elon Musk spent a whole month living off $1 per day for food when he was a poor college student in the 90s. He managed to do this by living off a lot of cheap oatmeal and pasta. Now, I was curious if this was still possible today because, as we're all painfully aware of, things are a lot more expensive now than in the 90s. So I went to test it out this week, just for the purposes of making this video, and the results shocked me. Not only is it possible to live on $1, $2, or $3 per day for food, it might actually be even more viable now than when Elon did it. This is because, although things are far more expensive now, free information and recipes are available all over the internet on how to make cheap, delicious, and healthy meals. These oatmeal chocolate banana pancakes I made cost only about 70 cents. This delicious and healthy spinach lentil soup cost only about $1. When you avoid working a 9-to-5, you lose your ability to earn money, but you gain a far more valuable resource: time. You must fully utilize this resource to the best of your ability if you want to live and thrive without a job. This is a theme we will be hammering home throughout the video. And one way you can utilize all the extra free time you now have on your hands is by learning to cook all these cheap, delicious meals for yourself. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is this actually going to be healthy? Are you going to get enough calories and nutrients by eating on just a few dollars per day? I wondered this myself, which is why I actually personally tested this before making this video. The results were shocking. Not only did my calorie and nutritional value not decline, I actually felt it significantly improved over my typical diet. This is because if you just buy a bunch of oatmeal or lentils in bulk, you can always eat more if you're still hungry, compared to buying pre-made sandwiches from the store. There's a lot of cheap recipes like this all over the internet. So look up as many as you can and test out which ones you like best. Now, if you want to take this a step further, you can even theoretically get your food budget down to zero by utilizing another cheat code I learned during my journey: food banks. Just about every local community will have churches and organizations offering free food drives, where anyone, including you, can scoop up some free food. This is food that would be thrown out anyways, so it would actually be more immoral not to take it than to take it. You would be surprised, but there's actually some high-quality salads, sandwiches, fish, and meat at a lot of these places, so you can add some good animal protein to your diet as well. Now, when you combine these two strategies, it's theoretically possible to actually get your food expenses down to zero without even needing the assistance of welfare. You can cook these delicious $1 oatmeal pancakes for breakfast, and then just eat the food you got from the food bank for lunch and dinner. This would allow you to eat comfortably for just $30 a month. To be safe, however, let's say you'll need around $100, as you'll want to eat something for yourself from time to time as well. Now let me ask you something. How much more freedom would you have if you could eat comfortably off just $100 a month? How many less hours would you have to work? How much more money would you have saved up? For me, the answer is $57,600. I came up with this figure because I just turned 34, and before I learned about these strategies, I was spending around $400 per month on food. If I multiply this by the 16 years it's been since my asshole boomer parents kicked me out at 18, expecting me to live on my own, it comes out to a total of $57,600 that I spent on food alone, and this is $57,000 that I mostly wasted on convenient junk food or eating out anyways. This is money that could have been used to invest in Bitcoin, start my YouTube channel, buy cheap foreign real estate, or pursue any of my dreams and passions in life. Although I'm pretty happy with how my life turned out, it could have been exponentially better had I known about this earlier. And so, this is why I'm sharing this with you, so that by the time you're my age, you'll have at least an extra $50,000 saved up. In a way, it's almost like being able to go in a time machine and give my younger self advice. Step 2. How to not pay rent without going homeless. Before we continue, I want to quickly point out a huge mental block and self-limiting belief that we just completely shattered. A common criticism I've seen in the comments is, well, no one likes to work, but you have to feed yourself somehow. This is a self-limiting belief. And I don't mean self-limiting belief in a magical voodoo law of attraction way. I mean a self-limiting belief in a purely logical and factual way. If you believe you have to work to feed yourself, then guess what? You're going to have to work to feed yourself. But if you refuse to accept this premise, then guess what? You'll look for creative ways to escape the matrix, and eventually you will. As you've seen now, contrary to what you thought before, contrary to what everyone from your parents to society told you, you actually don't have to work in order to feed yourself. Now, let's take this exact same mindset and apply it to another self-limiting belief that you've undoubtedly been shackled by. Even if you don't want to work, you have to because you need to pay rent, right? What if I told you that just like the idea that you have work to feed yourself, this is also a lie? Rent is probably the absolute biggest abomination we have to deal with as young people living in this economy. Especially if you live in the West, where your asshole boomer parents think it's morally and culturally good to kick you out at 18 in this dog shit job market. Average rent prices have absolutely skyrocketed the last few years. And so, if you can find a way to avoid paying rent, you don't need me to tell you how much easier your life will be. Now, unlike with food, there isn't one single strategy for escaping rent. There's in fact a wide array of strategies you can utilize, depending on your personal lifestyle preferences. Volunteering overseas, house sitting, living with your parents, and converting a car or van into a livable space are all great options. I'll talk a bit about volunteering as that's how I personally did it. If you go to a site like Workaway, you can find all kinds of volunteering gigs, where you work a chill 20 hours per week or so, in exchange for free accommodation, and in some cases even free food. This is a huge upgrade from wage slaving away at a typical 9 to 5, where you won't make enough to pay rent now anyways, despite working twice as much. There's a wide variety of opportunities you can choose from. Helping out a family with kids, teaching, even working on a ski resort. So you can easily find something that you personally would enjoy as well. In my opinion, this is totally superior to a 9 to 5 in every way imaginable. Instead of working 40 hours at a soulless job you hate, you work a chill 20 hours at something more fulfilling. Instead of paying $2,000 a month for rent, you pay $0. On top of all that, you don't even have to pay for utilities such as water, electricity, and internet, which we all know are unbearably expensive right now. And since you're only working a chill 20 hours per week, you have a lot more time to work on your own side hustle projects, whether that's art, music, or YouTube. Now, as I said before, volunteering is only one of many ways to escape having to pay these absurd $2,000 per month rents. There are plenty of other ways, such as living in a van or extreme survivalism. We don't have time to cover all these methods in this video, but if you're interested in learning more, there's another video I made where we cover all of them in depth, and I'll post the video link in the description. Step 3. The side hustle. Okay, so by now you've seen that it's possible to survive and even thrive without working. Even more importantly, we've broken several serious mental blocks that have held you back your whole life. And with that, it's time to break another one. Have you ever had a dream, a passion, something you really wanted to pursue, but you gave up on it because society and your asshole boomer parents told you that you can't make a living from it? Maybe you wanted to do art, music, YouTube, streaming. Here's the thing, this has all changed now because we just completely changed the definition of what it means to make a living itself. Because we now have free accommodation and only have to spend $100 a month on food. Literally anything that can bring in just a few $100 per month now qualifies as making a living. I'll use myself as an example. I've had a dream to do YouTube for a long time now, over a decade. My asshole boomer parents were never supportive of the idea at first because it wasn't quote-unquote a real job and wouldn't pay me enough to make a living. And they were right back then. But now that I know how to live off just a few $100 per month, this still relatively small YouTube channel already pays me enough to make a living. And you can apply this to any dream, side hustle, or business idea you've had as well. Even though your living expenses are minimal, you're still going to want to find a way to make some money so that you have some breathing room and ability to start saving up. So, whatever big dream or business idea you've had, now is the time to lock in and start. I guarantee part of the reason you gave up on your dream is because you looked at your $2,000 per month rent bill and figured there was no way you could bring in that much. But now that you can live off just $100 a month, making a living through your dreams and passions just became a lot less daunting and a lot more achievable. Step 4. The long game. Now, as you can see, you can easily survive and even thrive without working a 9-to-5. But this strategy only works for the short term, right? What about for the long term? What about eventually settling down and retiring somewhere? You can't just bounce around place to place eating oatmeal and bananas forever, right? You know, I feel like since 2020, there's been some weird magnetic shift in the laws of the universe or something, to where it feels like everything is the exact polar opposite of what it used to be. And this right here is a perfect example. You know how in the past, going the traditional route of college into a normal 9-to-5 was the safe route? And achieving your moonshot dreams of becoming an artist, athlete, or YouTuber was only possible if you were some transcendent, one-in-a-million talent? Well, I personally feel like it's the opposite now. Not only do I think this strategy can work in the long term, I think it is the only strategy that can work in the long term. And going the traditional route now is only feasible if you have some incredible one-in-a-million type of luck of being born a CEO's son or something like that. With how wild living expenses, inflation, and debt has gotten, I kind of feel like the meta has changed, and saving money rather than making money has now become the most valuable long-term skill financially speaking. Let's say you learn how to live off $200 a month using these strategies. $100 is still a bit extreme. It's very possible to scale an online side hustle to around $1,000 a month once you put a few years into it. This will give you $800 a month to invest in real estate, Bitcoin, stocks, any long-term assets that could eventually pay off. Remember in the beginning when I mentioned that I would have saved up over $57,000 by now from food alone, if in my 20s, I knew the information I'm sharing with you now. The crazier thing is that I knew about Bitcoin when it was just a few $100, and I just didn't have any money to invest in it back then. But if I had known this information I'm currently sharing with you, I could have easily seen myself buying several Bitcoins, and I could have possibly been a millionaire today. Oh well. Step 5. Mentality baseball is 90% mental. The other half is physical. This is a direct quote from Yogi Berra, one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And as someone who considers myself one of the greatest 9-to-5 escapers of all time, I'd say the same exact principle applies to escaping the 9-to-5. It's 90% mental and 10% practical. The reason I say this is because everything I told you in this guide, you can instantly and immediately start doing as soon as you decide to. I haven't sold you any courses or told you to make some crazy, risky crypto investment. You don't need to spend any money to start off. There's no barrier to entry. In fact, you'll actually immediately start saving a ton of money by doing this. The only thing that's stopping you at this point is you getting in your own head. Hey, I get it. It's a big change. It's scary. It's risky. I'm not going to sit here and give you some alpha male, David Goggins motivational speech to kick into gear. And even if you fully commit, the mental hurdles don't stop there. In fact, they're just beginning. You are going against the grain. You are trying to escape the matrix. Do you think they're just going to let you go freely without a struggle? There will undoubtedly be haters, defenders of the system, who will try to pull you back in and keep you imprisoned there. But I just have one question for you. How bad do you want to escape the 9 to 5? Are you really willing to do whatever it takes? Almost 6,000 of us, myself included, have been complaining for months now about how soulless and unfulfilling working a 9 to 5 is. You've asked repeatedly, what's the alternative? A fair question, I might add. And in this video, I've done my best to give an answer. The rest is up to you.